So, when you think of Iceland, what's the first thing that pops into your head? Probably glaciers, right? Maybe some massive waterfalls or the northern lights. It's a place that seems totally defined by ice. But the real story, the invisible engine that powers this entire country, is actually hidden right under all that ice. And it's a story of fire.
And this right here, this gets to the very heart of the whole thing. How is it possible that a country is powered by a force that, by all accounts, should be terrifying and destructive? It's a paradox, and it's exactly what we're going to unpack.
Okay, so how does this even work? Well, geologically speaking, Iceland is in a really unique and, frankly, a very violent spot. It sits smack dab on top of the Mid-Atlantic Ridge. Now, this is where two massive tectonic plates, the North American and the Eurasian, are actively pulling away from each other. It creates this constant, fiery link to the planet's core. In most places, this would just be a recipe for disaster. But in Iceland, they saw it as an opportunity. So how do you take all that geological violence and turn it into something useful? Well, instead of running away from all the constant volcanic activity, Icelanders figured out how to basically plug their country directly into it. They've managed to turn the Earth's own furnace into a national utility. Now, just let this number sink in for a second. 90%. What that means is the vast majority of homes in Iceland don't even have a furnace in the way we think about it. They're not burning gas or oil, no. Instead, they pipe superheated water warmed up deep underground by magma straight into their radiators. The Earth itself is their boiler room. And look, this isn't just a win for the environment. It's a huge economic win, too. It pretty much frees the entire country from the crazy ups and downs of the global energy market for heat. And it's not just for heat. We're talking about electricity, too. Nearly 100% of the country's electricity comes from renewable sources, that same geothermal power, plus hydropower from all those glaciers. I mean, they're almost completely energy independent, all thanks to the volcanoes literally right under their feet. And this whole system leads to some really unique perks that you just won't find anywhere else. Can you imagine living somewhere with seriously harsh Arctic winters, but you never have to shovel your sidewalk? In Reykjavik, the capital, they actually run pipes with that hot geothermal water right under the pavement. It just melts the snow and ice on contact. No salt trucks, no sore backs, just volcanic heat doing all the work for you. Pretty cool, right? Of course, all of this, it sounds almost a little too good to be true. And it brings up a pretty obvious question. I mean, there's gotta be a catch, right? What happens when that amazing power source decides to remind everyone that it is, in fact, still a volcano? Which brings us to 2010, and to an Icelandic volcano with a name that is famously impossible to pronounce. Eyjafjallajökull. When it erupted, this wasn't just some local news story. No, this was an event that showed the whole world how one single volcano in the North Atlantic could pretty much bring modern life to a screeching halt. And things escalated so fast. Within a single week, one eruption went from a local event to a full-on global travel crisis. This ash cloud just spread silently, invisibly, across the sky, and basically shut down the airspace over an entire continent. The scale of this disruption was just immense. Over 100,000 flights were canceled. More than 10 million travelers were stranded all over the world. And it was all because of one volcano. But why? What is it about volcanic ash that's so uniquely dangerous? Okay, so this is really important to understand. Volcanic ash isn't like the soft, fluffy ash you get from a campfire. Not at all. It's basically pulverized rock and glass. So when a jet airplane flies through it, these tiny, super sharp particles get sucked into the engines. The insane heat inside melts them, and they instantly re-solidify into a glassy coating all over the turbine blades. And that causes the engine to stall out and shut down. We're talking mid-flight. So yeah, that's the risk. It's very real and it's very global. But this brings us right back to the core of the Icelandic story. Because they don't just survive this constant threat of destruction, they innovate inside of it. They find these incredible ways to thrive in what is truly one of the most hostile environments on the entire planet. Just take farming, for example. I mean, the challenge seems impossible, right? Trying to grow fresh vegetables in the Arctic. But the volcanic solution is just genius. They use that exact same geothermal heat to warm these massive greenhouses. They create these little pockets of artificial summer, even when everything outside is buried in snow. They're growing tomatoes, cucumbers, they even grow bananas. Bananas, right there, at the edge of the Arctic Circle.
And maybe the most famous example of this incredible ingenuity is this wild story of turning something that should be industrial waste into one of the most famous luxury destinations in the entire world. That's right, the Blue Lagoon. You've seen pictures of it, right? It's one of Iceland's biggest tourist attractions. But it's not a natural hot spring. It's actually the runoff from a geothermal power plant. That milky blue mineral-rich water, it's the wastewater from the energy generation process. They took an industrial byproduct and turned it into a multi-million-dollar luxury spa. It is the ultimate act of volcanic recycling. So what does this all mean? What's the big lesson here in Iceland's story? I think it's a really profound lesson about coexistence. You know, in a world where we so often see nature as something to be conquered or just consumed, Iceland shows us a totally different way. It's this relationship that's built on a deep respect for both the immense power and the incredible gifts that the planet provides. It's about accepting that the very same force that can heat your home can also ground every airplane in Europe. In Iceland, you see, you don't just live on the Earth, you're in a constant, active partnership with it.